And we are back again, another great episode of Crypto Controller. I am your host, Jacob Donnelly, here at CoinDesk. And this time I am joined by my colleague and one of our journalists, Christine, who is being introduced to Rocket League for the very first time. Though I'm watching her play, and though she has no idea what the controls are, she has much better hand-eye coordination than other guests have when it comes to this game.
Really?
I'm intrigued to see her score goals. So anyway, Christine,
I'm flattered.
how are you?
Hi, Jacob. I should probably be looking at the screen right now, but I'm like still trying to figure out what I'm doing.
That's okay.
Just following the ball.
You are, and you have demonstrated a keen understanding of how to drive and steer. So I'm excited. I think you might score a goal today.
30 seconds. Wow, these games are pretty short.
Well, you got in about halfway through the game. So you'll get to go again after this. But yeah, so we're playing Rocket League. Last time we played Tekken. Doc AV said I had to play Rocket League again. He's mean. And we'll deal with that later. So, Christine, how's your week going so far?
So far, so good, Jacob. How about yours?
I can't complain. I'm literally playing video games and getting paid. Like, think about that for a second.
I mean, this is my first time, and this is like sweet. If I could do this like just all day and get paid.
I don't do it all day and get paid. I only get to do it Tuesdays and Fridays, unless the viewership skyrockets, in which case I don't get to do it more. So everyone, if you are watching and have friends who like crypto and video games, tell them to subscribe to the channel. So we brought Christine on in part because last week we got some questions about the Ethereum hard fork, Constantinople, which I guess is not really a fork in the truest sense because it's more of an upgrade. But why don't you tell us a little bit about what's been going on in the Ethereum space?
Yeah, definitely. So last Thursday, they Ethereum, the Ethereum blockchain had a system-wide upgrade. They implemented 4 out of 5 Ethereum improvement proposals that are backwards incompatible. So what that means is once you upgrade, you can't necessarily have people with the outdated software and people with the newly upgraded software on the same chain.
Sure.
Like you are either on the Constantinople activated chain or you're on the old Ethereum chain. So that's kind of why people call it a hard fork and what that means. Luckily the hard forks that did activate happened smoothly. Also, is this game like
if you hit A, it votes rematch. I think it's done now. You voted. Or hit A there. Maybe.
Ready?
There you go.
Save replay?
Nope.
Oh, no.
Nope.
Back. Sorry.
Now you're going to the next one now. Good.
Okay.
All right, keep going.
Apologies. This is going to be like game talk and then like Constantinople talk
great.
And then game talk and then Constantinople
like 3
talk.
months, when you've come on a few times, you'll be an expert at these games. And you'll be able to score and talk crypto all at the same time.
Oh, well, these are goals, man. Everyone got to start somewhere.
Everyone started from the bottom, now we're here.
Starting from the bottom again. So Constantinople happened last Thursday. It was backwards incompatible, but it happened very smoothly. To be fair, I mean, Constantinople was supposed to activate roughly in January. I mean, that was when they had set the block number 4. But because there was a security vulnerability that was found, they delayed it until February. So this is kind of like their second go-around. And so it went really smoothly, in my opinion, last Thursday. There wasn't really a chain split. Wow, that guy really just hit me. There wasn't a chain split, any evidence of chain splits. And right now, I was just checking the statistics before this, and like hash rate on the Ethereum network hasn't really changed that much. Transaction numbers are looking normal. Block counts, those kind of things are.
So this is the truest form of a clean hard fork that you can get, or a clean upgrade, where everyone agreed there was consensus around doing this upgrade, and effectively all the miners decided to change their software.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at the number of blocks that were created after Constantinople was activated, there are still a little bit of hash power going into the old Ethereum chain. Okay. Like 14 blocks. If you look at the fork monitor, there's 14 blocks that were mined since Constantinople activation, but like on the
So those are
non-upgraded
just,
chain.
it's a dead chain, basically.
So it's like super small. I mean, right now.
Let me see if I can find you a new game, because this one is just...
Really?
You're playing against one random person, and find new match.
I was like, I finally have hit the ball like 5, 10 times. So yeah, like it was a very, very clean, hard fork, but that's not to say that it was like perfect, as in, no hash power was, thank you. No hash power was, why aren't I moving?
The game's starting over.
Oh.
That's why.
I see, I'm so impatient.
You just want to score goals.
Yeah, I'm just like, let's
I just want to do the
go.
same thing. All right, so...
This is nice.
So basically, you had this very clean fork. There's some hash power in the old chain, but you're talking an inconsequential amount. Probably one or two people who just forgot to upgrade. They probably will at some point.
Yeah.
Transaction volume hasn't changed. Miner hash rate hasn't really changed. So all in all, it's a pretty good. It's a good upgrade for Ethereum.
Yeah. And like not all. I mean, there were some controversial proposals in this hard fork, but a lot of them were very technical.
Right.
They were very, as one developer had put it, maintenance and optimization upgrades. So.
You want to learn another little trick in this game?
Yes.
When you are going anywhere, really, hit B.
B.
And
it's like a boost.
It's a boost.
Nice.
And all the little like orbs around the map are your boost energy, so you can collect more energy, so you can continue to boost.
Gotcha.
So, anyway, so I guess let's step back. So the fork happened. It went well. The Ethereum community is happy. But what was included in this fork? Like, why did they do it? What did they hope to change? What was involved in it?
Yeah, that's a good question. So there were a total of 5 proposals that were included in Constantinople. One of them had to do with optimizing gas costs. So whenever you do operations on Ethereum as a smart contract developer, you have to pay small amounts of Ether called gas. And that proposal actually had a security vulnerability in it, so it was dropped at the last minute. There were 2 other proposals that had to do...
I don't think it was you guys who scored. But
No.
I think it was your team. It wasn't you. It was your team.
Nice, JHex07. You did well. So there were other than that one, there were 2 others that basically made coding, like smart contract development, a lot easier for developers. Something called bitwise shifting. Other than that, there was also a code proposal to kind of help initiate or better. I am really not focusing on this game.
It's harder than you think when you get to talk about crypto and play video games.
No, but that was the opposing team.
Yeah, it was.
There was one to help with state channels, which is like kind of like a layer 2 scaling initiative.
Sure. Bitcoin has Lightning. Ethereum's got state channels.
Yeah, and a whole bunch of other kind of like intermediate scaling solutions as Serenity / proof of stake kind of becomes finalized, which I think will be really cool. But again, like with that proposal, there are some kind of impacts to smart contract developers that people need to be aware of.
Sure.
So that I think was like a very interesting discussion that happened surrounding these improvement proposals. And then the final one I just want to highlight is obviously like maybe one of the most easiest to understand, and that's just a reduction in block reward count. So whenever, kind of in the Bitcoin blockchain, like if a miner finds a block, then you get
rewarded.
But then in Ethereum, that reward used to be 3 ETH, and now it's down to 2 ETH.
Now that was that done to try to prepare miners for the inevitable fork to proof of stake, or why did they want to do that?
So it was because of inflation rates. So right now, the issuance of Ether has caused higher inflation rates than Ethereum developers had expected. So in efforts to mitigate that until proof of stake, where proof of stake, like there is no inflation, I guess, to worry about in a proof of stake system. Until that point comes, they wanted to kind of keep keep the impacts of a devalued Ethereum currency low.
Sure.
In conjunction to that, they also have something called the difficulty bomb, and that's another piece of code where, oh, that's my team. Yeah, blue. Anyways, there's another piece of code called the difficulty bomb that...
Orange scored, so...
Orange scored? Oh,
yeah.
It was 2-1?
Yeah.
Oh,
so
geez.
Your team's losing now.
It's okay. I'll be MVP right now. But there's also a piece of code called the difficulty bomb, and what that does is makes mining a lot more difficult, makes block creation a lot slower, and that was delayed for 12 months through the Constantinople upgrade.
So what is why did they add that difficulty bomb to begin with? I guess it's a little confusing. Like they added this aspect to the software that basically was going to make it much harder. Was it an attempt to like hold themselves accountable to getting proof of stake out, or was there other logic for it?
So there's actually a lot of debate about this right now because the original intention for the difficulty bomb doesn't necessarily apply anymore.
Okay.
In the beginning, I mean, when the difficulty bomb was created, it was in relation to the very early drawn out designs for proof of stake. Mm-hmm. And in those designs, I mean, you needed some kind of incentive mechanism for miners to migrate to a proof of stake chain.
Right.
And if you're going to be on a proof of work chain and you're getting like mining rewards of like 5 ETH, like why do you want to move to become a validator to a proof of stake chain? You don't. So there's something called the difficulty bomb where like in incremental steps, the mining on the Ethereum proof of work chain gets gradually harder and harder until it just like freezes and it's like Ice Age. Now, the plan for proof of stake is a little different. There's like multiple stages, multiple phases. No! They were just too good.
All right, it's my turn now.
But that was really fun.
Well, you're going to try again after this. Because each match, I think, is only 5 minutes long, maybe 6, so you'll be playing many more times between now and when we're done.
How long is this again?
3 hours.
3 hours.
Yeah. Well, halfway through, we'll stop with that, Doc AV. Halfway through, we'll order a pizza. We'll have beers, and then we might extend to 4 or 5 hours. So.
Okay, you know what? I'm probly gonna take a bathroom break now and just come back. No,
okay,
kidding.
Great.
Just joking.
Brought on a new guest, and she leaves in 15 minutes. doing real great here at Crypto Controller. Okay, so. So basically, the difficulty bomb was put in place as a way to ultimately encourage miners to want to move over to proof of stake because they would no longer make their block rewards over time because it would just slow down.
Yeah.
But then they realized that they weren't quite ready to get proof of stake launched.
It's not ready yet.
So therefore, let's change the difficulty bomb. Let's push it out another year.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that it was kind of not a surprising or a new decision. The difficulty bomb has been delayed in the past before. Block reward issuance has decreased. So it used to be 5 ETH in Byzantium, before the Byzantium hard fork, and then it was decreased to 3. I mean, I feel like most people who have covered or been around in the Ethereum community, this isn't their first rodeo when it comes to these kinds of topics and issues. But I think developers now are kind of getting a little bit annoyed at having to have the same discussion multiple times over, and maybe perhaps now we just don't do this whole difficulty bomb at all and kind of just focus on other topics of concern, like maybe changing the mining algorithm to prog power or
talk about that. They're talking about changing the mining algorithm?
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yep. This is in efforts to break specialized mining hardware, ASICs, from the Ethereum platform. And this obviously is very contentious on multiple different blockchain platforms, like not just Ethereum. But there is a proposal called prog power that would dynamically, I guess, change different pieces of the hardware that you need to compute the algorithms that would like.
So sometimes maybe it's CPU, sometimes maybe it's GPU, sometimes, or would it always be like a GPU, but it's meant so that you can't get. So I guess the way I understand ASICs is ASICs are hardware that have custom software built along with them, whereas a GPU doesn't have custom software along with it, which is why a lot of these ASIC-resistant chains allow you to do GPU mining, but they don't want you to be ASIC-specific. So is that the idea? Is that this would be the hashing algorithm would change each time?
I'm not sure if it. I do believe, from my understanding, that it would be changing. It would be dynamically changing so that the playing field between ASICs and GPUs would be level.
Okay.
So even if there are ASICs on the Ethereum platform, it doesn't give it doesn't have a significant advantage over just using a general purpose hardware machine, because all the computations and the algorithms and the kind of like hoops you need to jump through, an ASIC versus a GPU, I mean, both can do it relatively efficiently and not without a huge gap or a distance between time or energy consumed.
Right.
And I think right now the Ethereum community is really trying to figure out via third-party audits whether or not that code is actually going to work. And did you just score?
No, I'm losing.
Okay.
I'm losing pretty bad,
Yeah,
actually.
0 to 3, man. I lost by what? No, I'm just kidding.
Ooh, wow, Christine's throwing shade. Maybe we should go to Tekken after all.
I thought you lost for that one. Didn't Lee beat you?
Lee won matches, and I won matches. It was fairly distributed.
Fairly
No, it wasn't. No, she beat me more. I think it was she won 11 times, I won 7 or 8. I don't know. Anyway, back to the change to the proof of work algorithm that Ethereum has. You said it's called what?
PROG, progressive proof of work. So it's the proof of work mining algorithm, but modified so that it's more dynamically ASIC resistant. And
where are we on that? When do they expect that to roll out?
That's to be determined. Right now, they're in the phase of getting together security auditors, code auditors, people who are knowledgeable in mining, Ethereum mining hardware to give their input. They're also looking for more community feedback. I think it's quite hard because Ethereum has grown so much as an ecosystem that now that they're trying to talk about these kind of very contentious issues, everybody's kind of all over the place, and it's not that easy to come to a clear.
Well, that's what happens. Decentralization is, and this is a little philosophical, but decentralization is supposed to be harder.
Yeah.
If we wanted easy, we would choose centralized systems. But instead, we recognize that the trade-offs of decentralization mean, or the benefits of decentralization mean there are trade-offs. Things are harder to do. Rollouts are not easy. That's expected.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. And I think that one of the initiatives that Ethereum has created to help with this problem of decreased coordination as a result of decentralized governance structures that are larger and just have a lot more people and a lot more stakeholders within them is the Ethereum cat herders.
The cat herders?
Yeah, and they call themselves the project managers of Ethereum, and what they're doing right now is organizing,
Wait, I don't get credit for that? How do I
you get an assist, 50 points.
Wait. Wait. Oh, tell me you stole it from me. You stole that from me. Oh, man. That's not cool, man. Anyway, you were saying about the cat herders?
Yeah. So they are like the project managers for Ethereum, and they're basically the ones trying to get the audit together, getting the community feedback together, and also the ones communicating about hard fork communicating to stakeholders about hard fork timelines and
when it's happening, here's what's going to change, here's what you need to do.
Yeah, and here's like the software you guys need to upgrade to. So I think those kind of grassroots movements, those kind of small initiatives will help in the long run.
Sure.
Yeah.
That makes perfect sense.
I mean, I do think though that with Istanbul coming up, which is the next hard fork, the name for the next hard fork, there's going to be a lot more questions, I guess, about how these processes get formalized. Because before this point, I feel like, I don't know if I really heard too much about hard systems and like deadlines and like timelines. But now there's proposals coming forth saying, for an Ethereum hard fork, these are the dates that we should put in place for when an EIP is talked about. Did you score?
Oh, did I score?
Your moon 21 mil?
Yeah, because Bitcoin is going to the moon, and there will be 21 million of them.
That's funny.
Yes, you can thank Doc AV for that one. In case it's not clear, Doc AV is the person behind the camera who has chosen a career of production rather than stardom, is afraid to be seen. So Doc AV changes too, because sometimes the original Doc AV is not here. So we have other Doc AVs. So anyway, just so you know when I'm saying Doc AV, who I'm referring to. One day we'll have Doc AV on the show, maybe.
I think that would be cool.
It would be super bizarre. I don't know, maybe not.
We're twins.
Yeah. Yeah, I still have a little bit more hair than you, Doc AV. Not much, but some. Anyway, back to Ethereum. So, all right, so Constantinople happened last Thursday. It went well. There were a series of upgrades that took place that should, help with the move towards proof of stake because of the reduction, or helps with inflationary problems that they were dealing with. I don't know if it helps with proof of stake.
I think so. I think that in the meanwhile, until proof of stake gets finalized, they need to keep the present Ethereum platform functional and efficient and working for the smart contract developers that are on the platform. And these upgrades, like I said, I mean, technical in nature, but important for efficiency reasons.
Yeah, for sure.
And reasons of that nature. So I think on top of Constantinople and the next set of upgrades that are coming, there's a lot more to come before actual proof of stake, before Serenity. Whoa, your round was really short.
I can play again if you want me to.
No. No.
So, all right, so that was Constantinople.
Yes.
You said the next fork is Istanbul.
Yes.
What's in Istanbul?
That one, we're not sure yet. I mean, there's proposals that are being put forth.
Okay.
Prague POW could potentially be included in Istanbul, so that's one of them, but that's still being discussed and debated. There's a few other proposals on state rents, which is basically like, right now there's the cost. Save replay.
You're good. You're
good.
Just let it'll do its thing now.
Okay. Again, my impatience. So right now, there's obviously there's a change to the way Ethereum developers want to charge storage on Ethereum.
Okay.
So if you want to store data on the Ethereum blockchain, because it's kind of, space is limited,
of course.
And it's
very limited.
The bigger that it gets, the harder it becomes for everyone to kind of sync up to the same. Why am I going backwards? So likely in Istanbul, you will see proposals to improve the storage fees.
Okay.
But how exactly Ethereum developers plan to do that, and what kind of parameters they're going to put in place for that is not yet determined.
Do they have an idea as to when that fork will take place?
So in January, one of the developers had suggested October or November of this year.
Okay.
But that date it's not set.
Sure.
So my best guess, maybe we could, I think we'll definitely see the confirmation of the Ethereum improvement proposals and perhaps a testnet before the end of the year. But in terms of activation of Istanbul, no guarantees, man.
Yeah.
But
again, stuff's hard. It makes sense, and better to roll out software that works than try to hit a deadline that could break something.
Yeah,
it's one thing to
exactly.
break a small little project that you're experimenting with. It's something else entirely to break a multi-billion-dollar protocol. Okay, all right.
I'm going, man.
Ooh.
Yeah. Oh no.
Oh,
Jeez Louise.
that was close.
That
It was close. So I guess another question I have is, originally everyone talked a lot about proof of stake as the big thing for Ethereum. They've obviously had to slow that down. It's a very hard project to do, transitioning from proof of work to proof of stake. Getting all the various constituents involved is probably very hard. When do you think, or when have there been conversations about that actually rolling out? When could we actually expect Ethereum to be proof of stake?
Well, when we say Ethereum proof of stake, I think most people need to realize it's not going to be Ethereum is proof of stake transition. It's going to be Ethereum has a beacon chain. Ethereum has validators. Ethereum has shards. It's going to be very incremental changes, I think, to the network that eventually amalgamates to a full proof of stake consensus protocol.
So to unpack that, what you mean is bits and pieces of Ethereum will start to become proof of stake. Or there's
so I would say that there have been estimations of test networks to show how the first phase 0 of Ethereum, of the new Ethereum, could look like. And I mean, I would even say maybe by the end of this year, they'd be able to fully flesh out like phase 0.
Sure.
But actually, today, this is 2019, right?
We are in 2019.
We are in 2019. So, yeah, I don't know. That's so hard to say. I feel like, yeah. I would say right now, to maybe play it safe, 2 to 3 years before we see proof of stake.
Sure.
But I that seems like a very like far out timeline. But that's really not to say that there's not like concrete, actionable coding happening and testing happening.
Right. Everyone likes
moment.
to remark on like the overnight success.
Yeah.
But the overnight success took 10 years of someone building something without anyone paying attention to it before suddenly, poof, we've got success.
Yeah.
So look, again, it makes perfect sense why they're not going to do this huge system change without being sure that the stuff works. Mm-hmm. So that makes perfect sense. Now, can you explain, because part of what Crypto Controller is, the purpose of the show is to, act as more of like an intro to this sort of stuff for people who might not really know crypto and be interested in it. Can you explain a little bit about what is proof of stake?
That's a good question. So proof of stake is supposed to be a more eco-friendly, I guess, version of proof of work. So proof of work, what people do in order to create new blocks on the blockchain and validate transactions, you've got these miners who do very computationally intensive puzzles with their computer devices. And if you devote energy, like electricity, and your computer server / node, then you have a chance to be able to gain like whatever cryptocurrency you're trying to mine for.
Yes.
In the case of Ethereum, it's Ether. Mm-hmm. But a lot of people have been, oh my gosh, I am stuck in the freaking goal. Okay, so in proof of stake, instead of having miners, you have these actors called validators.
Okay.
And you basically stake your own Ether, and you say, I'm gonna be a validator by staking this amount of Ether, and you as a validator, instead of doing all these like computationally intensive puzzles, you vote. You cast with the staked ETH that you have, you are able to then have a voice, I guess, and which confirmations get validated and blocks. And there's a number of other roles that I'm sure I'm missing, but I think one of the main ones is voting.
So part of the idea with this is, if I understand correctly, it's a bit more of an egalitarian way, or argued to be a bit more of an egalitarian way of doing this, where that to be a miner, you need to buy a lot of hardware. So it's a big expense, whereas anyone can stake.
Be a validator. If you have the Ether for it.
Right. I could be very wrong here, but I seem to recall I read that they had, one of the improvements they had done is reducing the amount of ETH required to be a validator. Or I guess maybe that doesn't exist because it's still proof of work. I could be making it up. I think you guys are winning right now.
Yeah, but I am such a bad teammate. Like, I was like up on like the top, like driving, like in the top, I don't know, like the shield area, and I was like, I'm not even on the ground.
All right, so let's go a little bit more personal. How long have you been with CoinDesk?
Since June of last year.
So we're going to be a year in June.
Yes.
You started as an intern.
Yes, I did.
And now you are our primary Ethereum reporter.
Yes.
That's pretty awesome. That's pretty cool, right?
Yeah, I guess.
So, when you started, do you have any idea what this stuff was?
No, I definitely did not.
No?
I mean, I knew about Bitcoin, but I didn't know about Ethereum.
Okay. Now you're writing about this crazy technology day in and day out.
I am.
So the reason I ask is, were you at all paying attention to the industry a few years ago?
No.
All right. Well, then why don't we jump into our next segment called This Week in Bitstery, where
Bitstery.
we analyze a story that was published on CoinDesk
Next turn.
at this day and time years ago. So we're going to jump right in.
Wow. Flash to the past.
All right, so I'm going to grab this here envelope. And why don't you actually open it up, because I have to play.
Okay.
And you can tell us a little bit about what this story is. And I can then talk a little bit about it, so I think I was paying attention at this time.
Aha. So, today's bit story is Bitcoin inventor Satoshi Nakamoto found in California. Mm-hmm. This was March 6, 2014. So,
Yeah, I
5
remember.
years ago.
I remember this. This was... Yeah, I had not even yet started writing about Bitcoin, but I was started to pay attention to it.
Wait, what were you doing at the time?
I had a full-time job doing other things. I think so. I think I'm coming up on my 5-year anniversary in crypto. Anyway, so yeah, I remember this story. So Newsweek thought they had found Satoshi.
Yes, they had said that they called it the biggest scoop in Bitcoin history. Newsweek's Leah McGrath Goodman apparently managed to find the real Satoshi Nakamoto. The real Satoshi is not a Tokyo Whiz kid nor a spy or a group of developers. He's a 64-year-old Californian with a love of math, encryption, and model goods, model trains.
Now, I seem to recall that this gentleman's name is Dorian Nakamoto.
According to McGrath Goodman, yes,
All right.
probably, yes.
So this was interesting because I remember when this story came out. Newsweek obviously they printed it. They said they had found Satoshi. It turned into this huge chase where like the guy was just trying to like go home, and
He was,
people
like,
were
mauled by reporters.
Yeah, and this is like the reporters just
guy.
like mauled him, and then comes to find out he's not Satoshi Nakamoto.
Yeah, he published that statement saying, I, deny this with, my whole being.
Right.
I am not Satoshi. I do not have anything to do with Bitcoin.
So did you have any idea this was going on when this happened?
No. When this happened, I didn't know about it. But I think it's kind of, hilariously funny. Hilariously sad, I guess, that he obviously went through some real, discomfort because of how his name was kind of plastered and thrown into this crazy crypto world.
I actually have at home coasters with his face on it.
Yeah, and he's an international meme now.
He is.
He never asked for that, but
I should bring those coasters in. My mom got them for me for this past holiday. She always gets me something Bitcoin. A couple years ago, I got Bitcoin socks. This year, I got coasters with this guy's face on it. One of them is him holding a newspaper clipping that says Craig Wright is Satoshi, or is not Satoshi. It gets as meta as you can get, I suppose. But yeah, so the reason this story is interesting to me is it is the biggest scoop in crypto, right? Is whether or not, or who is Satoshi. Everyone's got their theory. I'm sure you have a theory on who Satoshi is. I know I've got a theory on who Satoshi is. But I believe that the best thing that ever happened to Bitcoin was that Satoshi went away.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that him, she, them just not being around anymore or publicly around is actually a positive to the security of Bitcoin.
Security of Bitcoin? Why the security of Bitcoin?
So if we agree that the security of Bitcoin, a big part of its security is the fact that it's truly decentralized, right? It doesn't have any single authority dictating what's going to happen. Then a cult of personality could, and it had happened with Satoshi, where you've got things now like Satoshi's vision and things like that, where
Yeah, it's already happening.
right, but it's not happening on Bitcoin itself.
But I think there's still a degree of centralization that happened despite Satoshi not being the head of Bitcoin. Blockstream is a major core developer group for Bitcoin.
Sure, but
And it's not necessarily
no, and
decentralized.
that's valid. But there are a lot of non-Blockstream core developers. quite a few non-blockchain core developers who have commit access.
That's true. I don't know if Satoshi Nakamoto being there or not being there would have changed that, though.
But could it not have made it more likely? In that Satoshi's the creator of this, so therefore he is, in some respects, a benevolent dictator.
Well, I think about kind of the example of Ethereum. Vitalik Buterin, he was the creator of Ethereum, and he never kind of shied away from the limelight. And I mean, Ethereum now, they have a core developer group, but that core developer group is not Ethereum Foundation.
Right.
So I feel like because even if Satoshi Nakamoto stayed and took on the position and the role that Vitalik Buterin did, but for Bitcoin, I don't know if necessarily Bitcoin would be different. Like, would it be more centralized? I don't know. It's already kind of centralized.
It's a fair argument. I don't know if I agree that it's centralized, but it's certainly a fair argument.
Yeah, centralized probably a strong word, but like not. Yeah, I don't know if it would be more decentralized, less decentralized.
So close.
Hey, but you're orange, right?
No, I'm blue.
Oh, okay.
I think. Yeah. When I play the pink van, I'm on the orange team. Go figure. And when I play this interesting, I know why I'm this color. Bailey made me choose this color. She was a fan of this color blue and decided this should be the color of the van.
I really like how it's a Rick and Morty themed van.
Well, yeah, why not?
That's awesome. That's pretty sweet.
So, all right. So that's obviously that's this week's story in Bitstery. What else is going on that you're watching, paying attention to? What has you intrigued, interested? Tell me a little bit more.
Let's see. What am I intrigued in nowadays? I think I'm definitely looking forward to seeing how the Quadriga CX things are kind of unfolding. I mean, I personally haven't reported on it, but
that's been a lot
from
of Nick's
colleagues,
work, right?
For colleagues like Nick, who's really covering in real time what's going on. That's such an interesting case study of like so many unanswered questions.
Oh, it's wild to think about the, you get B.
Sorry.
It's okay.
B. That's what I meant.
And then, all right, you're good. It's wild to think about the fact that like people lost all their covering the court cases where they're trying to get some of this money back for people who lost their money. But it's interesting. It brings us to a separate topic. So actually, I've got a good segue here.
Okay.
All right. So there's a big thing in crypto where if you don't hold your keys, you don't have your crypto, right? So like if you put your Bitcoin on an exchange or your ETH on an exchange, or if you put your or if you trust like a separate wallet provider, like if you don't control it yourself, you don't have it. But then today, BlockFi announced that they had rolled out their interest-bearing account. We published this on CoinDesk this morning, where effectively you could put your crypto or your Bitcoin or your ETH into an account with them, and then you would earn a variable rate of interest every single month that compounds, a variable rate of 6.2%. A lot of people on Twitter were getting upset about this. Some said it was a great thing. Others said it was a bad idea. Why? Because you're now trusting a central entity to control your crypto, and what happens if they lose it, right? I asked a friend of mine, I said, what do you think about this? And he said, he's a financial advisor, and he said, no, he's at this point, doesn't think it's a good idea to put crypto into it. What do you think about these secondary applications that are being built? And I ask you in particular because, a big thing on Ethereum right now is all these CDPs and this DAI, and where you can lock up your ETH. I think I read 2% of all ETH is locked up on MakerDAO. What do you think about that?
It's definitely concerning. It really is. I feel like the moment you have separation between what's actually happening to your, or like as much the more separation there is between where you define like the value of your cryptocurrency, the more dangerous it becomes. Like, I feel with stable coins, a lot of people don't understand how a stable coin maintains its peg. And each stable coin has a different way of doing it that toots itself as like the safest, the most secure way. But when you really come down to it, there's not a lot of people who get it. And yet they still trust it and they still put their money in that. So I kind of feel like with crypto, like part of the bigger ethos is you're trying to give more control back to the user, and you're trying to say like, you have control of your own data, you have control of your own like identity, sovereignty, whatever. And I think in order to do that, the key is to promote like holding your private keys, like promote understanding like how to do that and making that more user friendly, as opposed to creating more layers of like, well, let's just like, let me handle it for you. Let me kind of like take over that burden of responsibility for you.
Now, part of the argument with Maker, if I understand correctly, though, is that there is no third-party custodian.
It's like decentralized, automated.
Yeah, because the smart contract effectively locks the crypto up for you.
Yeah.
But the trade-off to that is you need to put collateral in.
Yeah.
Right.
You
So
do.
you stake your ETH, and then what you get out of that is DAI. Right. At least that's how it was with Maker. The problem is that if you put in $100 worth of ETH to get $50 worth of DAI, and then the price of the ETH craters, where that it's now worth less than the DAI you've borrowed, the ETH, the contract immediately liquidates. So like, this is another example of where like right now, yeah, it works out, but people don't quite understand that like that liquidation, especially in crypto, could happen very fast.
It's true, because the market is so volatile. But the other thing, too, is, I mean, right now, because, I mean, we're seeing it in real time, the price of Ether has changed so much. The community calls for MakerDAO are entirely public. The governance, the voting procedures to increase fees so that the peg can be maintained is actively happening just in the public sphere. And yet, there's not very many people who are listening. And I think that just goes to show that, like, that information, like even with automated systems, even with like these totally decentralized like communities, you can still have like the wool kind of pulled over your eyes.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Which is one of the reasons why people come to CoinDesk, to read the great journalism that you do, Christine.
But Jacob, I feel so bad because like you've prepped all these questions, and I feel like I should have prepped questions for you.
That's okay. I mean, what do you want to know? I'm an open book.
So when did you start at CoinDesk?
So I started writing for CoinDesk. I used to be a journalist.
Oh, I didn't know
Yeah,
this.
January 2016. This was back when it was, let's see, it was Pete, Stan.
Oh my gosh.
I don't even think Michael Del Castillo had joined yet.
What? So
yeah.
you were a news reporter? Like
I
you
was,
were...
but I was freelance. So I had basically what it was is I had a full-time job, not in crypto.
What were you doing?
I worked at an industrial directory.
Okay.
Doesn't actually. It was a fine job, but I liked writing, so I found a freelance writing gig for a company called Inside Bitcoins. They were an event brand. Then I wrote for Bitcoin Magazine, and then I randomly reached out to Pete and asked to write for him, and I guess I got lucky because he agreed to bring me on. So I started writing for them in January 2016. So helped cover Consensus 2016 when Craig Wright came out and said he was, Satoshi Nakamoto. And then I joined full time as head of marketing November 2016.
Why did you jump from reporting to marketing? I thought you loved writing.
I love writing, but this was an opportunity. I'm a better marketer than I am a journalist, and I like the business side of media. I like, now I'm in charge of all operations and all that around the media business. I like that side of things. It's fun. But, where else do I get to have my two favorite things, media and crypto, all at the same time? It really is, you wake up and you get to think about all those fun things.
Yeah.
So that's how I got into it.
Cool.
It's been fun. But yeah, I remember There was a much smaller team a couple years ago. I mean, we have in the 2 years I've been here grown from 7 or 8 people to like almost 50, I think.
Yeah.
Which is just crazy to think about.
I remember the first time when I started as an intern, Nick just kept saying, "It's so weird to have so many people in the office, so many bodies." I was like, this is very abnormal.
Yeah, but I remember your internship year, we brought a lot of interns in.
A lot.
And hired quite a few of them as well. I mean, you know, it's you. So in your year, it was you,
Me, Sam,
Anna, Seb, but I guess he's overseas. Who else? Anyone else?
I think that's it.
It's just
Actually.
it's wild to think about. And now, like, you guys are Nick. Well, Nick was before you, but Nick is now doing this whole Quadringa story. You're covering like, the second largest blockchain out there. Like, it's crazy in 1 year.
Yeah.
That's pretty crazy.
So crazy.
So when you told your mom or your parents that you were accepting a full-time job at a crypto media company, what did they say?
My mom hated it.
Did she?
Yeah, she did not like it. She actually thinks that crypto is like evil.
She thinks crypto is evil.
Yeah.
Does she still think it's evil?
Yeah.
Have you showed her your paycheck? Like, you're getting a
But
paycheck.
that doesn't, I think money, like me bringing up money makes it worse because she doesn't want me to sell my soul to like, for material gain, you know?
Okay.
I
mean, you still have to pay the bills.
Yeah, it's, I think crypto is a very opaque industry. And even when you report on it, you are constantly coming up with like, just scammers and trolls and lies, and so I don't know if necessarily she's wrong in thinking that crypto is evil, but I do think that there's a lot of good in crypto that has yet to be fully fleshed out.
I'm going to defend your mom's point for a minute because I find joy in doing this. I'm going to channel my inner Marie Kondo and do what brings me joy. So your mom is not wrong that crypto can be very evil. A lot of the people in crypto, at least when you got involved in crypto, like this was on the tail end of the craziest bull market crypto had ever experienced.
Yeah.
Everyone and their mother was doing an ICO. There were a lot of scams in crypto at the time.
So many.
So I understand where your mom's coming from.
Yeah.
On the other hand, there is no other technology that exists that can provide an opportunity to anyone in the world. To be truly financially free. And this is one of the big things that we're debating, or we will be debating, I'm sure, at Consensus, is the ability to transact a human right. Like the ability for me to send money to somebody, and to whomever I feel is important to receive that money, is that a human right? And that debate never really could come up when a government controls your currency. But when you control your own currency, or it's a truly decentralized currency, it's interesting. So, Christine's mom, if you're watching, I agree with you and disagree with you, and understand where you're coming from. But I think in 5 or 10 years, you'll see that a lot more good has come from this crypto industry than evil.
That's a really good point. I'm so looking forward to that debate.
Oh, it's going to be so fun.
That topic?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it'll be fun. We will have far more to say about that in coming weeks. But if you are thinking about coming to Consensus and you want to see this grand debate that we have planned, that I've hinted towards, no one else but Crypto Controller followers will see this. So no tweeting it, people. If you want to see this grand debate, then you're going to want to get your ticket before Friday because tickets increase in price. And that's the only selling I'm going to do on this show.
Dude.
Oh, my goodness. I am doing horrible at this game.
Other question for you, Jacob.
All right.
When you had said everyone has like a theory on who is Satoshi Nakamoto, I'm curious. Like, are you one of those people that thinks like Craig Wright is Satoshi?
I don't think Craig Wright is Satoshi. Okay. And even if Craig Wright was Satoshi, like, this goes back to why I'm glad that Satoshi disappeared. Look what the guy has. He's gotten so crazy since appearing in the space. So No, I don't think so. My theory when I was early on was that there's two that I've heard.
Okay.
I don't know if I agree with either of them. These are the two theories I heard. The first was that it was created by the Israeli government. A bunch of really smart people in the Israeli government. They created it and then, decided that they were not going to release it. But then someone on the inside said, no, we're going to do that. The other theory I've heard is that it was created by the CIA as an attempt to destabilize the Chinese government. Because they recognized the Chinese government was going to take over from a currency perspective, so let's roll out this other currency. Again, they're both crazy. And frankly, I don't care who Satoshi is anymore.
Huh.
I've moved past it, who Satoshi actually is.
Whatever.
But yeah, no, my theory is it was probably a small group of people. Or as one t-shirt I saw was Satoshi is female. I like that argument.
I do.
Honestly, I think that more has gotten done over the past year in building out this industry than even Satoshi ever contributed. And he obviously she brought this entire technology here, but just so much is getting done that that's what matters today. And I will get off my soapbox.
True that.
What other questions you have for me? You got 5 more minutes with me, so...
This is good. If you could predict what the crypto industry will look like in 5 years' time, what would you say? What would be its defining characteristics?
Well, I will say that 95% of the coins that are out there today will be quote-unquote dead.
Oh.
No crypto ever truly dies, but I think the majority of them will be dead. I don't know how much I believe in a truly multi-coin environment.
Gotcha.
I think in 5 years, there will be far more institutional partners involved. I think that especially hedge funds and family offices and high net worth individuals are going to at some point realize that there's an entirely new asset class. I think Ethereum will likely be proof of stake.
So Ethereum's there. It's one of the few that survive.
It could be. I've always thought that it's very hard to transition. Once miners get comfortable making money, I feel like it's going to be very hard to make the transition from proof of work to proof of stake. I've always, I got in, when Bitcoin was the big deal, and then, Ethereum popped up, and then it became the big story. People want to talk about that a lot. So some people like to call me a maximalist.
Have heard that before.
Term. Oh, Bitcoin maximalist?
Yeah.
Yeah. Look, I think Ethereum, it could work. I think that it's still in the stage where it's still very much an experiment. A lot of money in it, a lot of smart people working on it, and and there's a saying that you should, follow the developers. So if the developers are really paying attention to this, then maybe you should. So I'm not going to be arrogant enough to say that it's not going to survive. I do fundamentally believe Bitcoin will.
Okay.
I think that Bitcoin will absolutely survive. Do you want to play one last round?
Sure.
All right. This is the last match, and then we're going to wrap up. But yeah, I think in 5 years, there will be legitimate adoption. I think that, at that point, Bitcoin will be used for commerce. Lightning Network will definitely be in use.
Like Visa, like faster than Visa payments, cheaper than Visa payments.
Yeah, I mean, I think so. But look, I could be wrong. I don't know what's going to happen next week, let alone 5 years from now.
Tell me about it.
Right?
I feel that.
Yeah. What about you? If you had to, I know you've only been doing this for a year, but if you had to guess, where do you think the market is? Not the market, the price-wise, but like just the industry.
I remember listening to a talk at ETH Denver, which is this like Ethereum hackathon that happened earlier in February, and one of the speakers was Andreas Antonopoulos.
Who was one of the most important people in crypto as an evangelist. He's just, I remember I watched a lot of his early videos when I first got involved and learned a lot. So anyway, don't mean to cut you off.
No, not at all. I mean, it was my first time speaking to him and really seeing him in the flesh and just doing a bit of background research on him. But he had said a lot about how in a few years' time, we're likely going to see more states trying to shut this technology down.
Yep, I
thought that was a really interesting point, because right now there has been talk about central-backed digital currencies.
We've got JPM coin.
And really institutional cryptocurrencies. And I'm curious to know, I mean, whoa!
You just scored your first goal of the day.
But like my goal or my...
Like, no. You hit the ball, and it went in the net.
Yes! This is perfect. I'm actually so happy.
Guys, everyone, that means Bitcoin is going to go to $100,000. 21 million
whoa,
to the moon. I'm
this
joking.
is my goal.
Oh, so that means Ethereum is going to $100,000.
There we go. You heard it here first. No, I'm just kidding.
All right, anyway, so he said that in a few years' time, states are going to start getting involved.
Yeah, well, like they're going to try and shut it down.
Okay.
That you already see Bitcoin being prohibited transacting in Bitcoin being prohibited in certain states, and that you might even see Ethereum starting to be like censored in a very similar manner. Why do I keep driving that way? Okay, I'm back down. But I thought that was really interesting because other than central bank digital currencies and like the JP coin, whatever, there are coins that pride themselves on being anonymous and private.
Monero, Zcash.
Exactly.
I think Dash, to some respect, is supposed to be.
And what do you do when that kind of technology is out of the box, but you want to put it back in the box again?
Right.
You know? And I would be surprised if in 5 years' time, there's not a clear answer to that.
Yeah, so, at some point, once the genie's out of the bottle, the genie's out of the bottle. There's nothing you can do about it, right? I actually think that, and this is probably thanks to a lot of the hard work for the nonprofits, Coin Center, Chamber of Digital Commerce. They've been educating people really, really well down in D.C. and across various states. I actually think that we could see, and I don't know if this is in 5 years, a scenario where especially smaller governments start to actually take the exact opposite approach. And they actually look at crypto and go, you know what, this is a new asset, let's hold some of this. Where they actually look at it as, and look, I could be wrong here, but I wouldn't be surprised, especially if the small governments, the small states, start to actually keep it on their quote-unquote balance sheets.
I mean, it would, so like Venezuelan government tries to use cryptocurrency to get past U.S. sanctions.
Well, that was a horrible Bolivar rollout. That was just like such a scammy thing.
But I feel like small countries could try and like backlash, like try and use cryptocurrencies so that they can get around international, like big international state restrictions and policies. But I do think that states are not going to give up their power, like their control over monetary and fiscal policy so easily, I guess. I don't know. It's definitely a very interesting conversation because technology never ever develops in a vacuum.
No.
It always develops in a certain political climate and time. And given like the current international political like regime that we have with like U.S. The dollar weakening and other possible international reserve currencies kind of coming up as possible competitors, I'd be interested to see how cryptocurrencies affects that dynamic for sure.
It could be very, very interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, like I said, at this point, governments have taken, at least in the United States, the states have certainly started to warm up to it. I know Wyoming is really
very bullish.
Very bullish on it.
So bullish. They want to attract all the crypto companies, all of them.
Which is great, right?
To Wyoming.
I don't personally want to go. I don't think I'd want to live in Wyoming, but you almost scored your second goal.
I know, but
you almost scored your second goal.
It would have been nice too.
But yeah, I mean, they're just opting. They're saying this is a friendly place to do crypto business.
They're really sending that message. Eight bills, I think, were signed that were favorable to blockchain industry.
Yeah, but I think I saw today or yesterday that Rhode Island is also now starting to push out some bills.
Really?
That would
Rhode
be
Island?
friendly. I think this is going to happen. I mean, let's go international. Singapore is taking a pretty, pro approach to it. Malta, Bermuda. These are. I mean, they're smaller countries, but they're taking a more, positive or acceptable approach to crypto. And I think that, this is only going to intensify over the coming years. So yeah, I think I can see that.
Yeah, yeah.
You think Bitcoin will still be number one in 5 years?
I mean, Bitcoin is a cornerstone for sure.
Oh, okay. So score your second goal of the day. It's a good thing that Doc AV didn't cut us off because people get to watch. I know he really wants to get off because we're supposed to only be an hour-long show.
I really improved, you know?
You really did.
Like the last,
you get to keep playing. You don't have to hand it back to me.
I thought
we have a minute, 22 seconds left.
Okay, I feel like I've really improved.
Now you have to go for the hat trick.
What is the hat trick?
A hat trick in like hockey or soccer is when you score 3 goals in 1 match.
Oh, that's called a hat trick?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
So
I should know the hockey lingo. I'm Calgarian.
You are?
Yeah.
So are you? What's the team up there?
Flames. Calgary Flames.
Do you like the Flames?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They suck, but I love them. Yeah.
I'm a Rangers fan, so it's been a not happy couple of long time.
Long time. Wait, what were we?
We're talking about whether Bitcoin will be number one.
Oh,
said it's a
right.
cornerstone.
Yes, it's true. It's a cornerstone. I mean, it started everything. I don't know. Yeah, I don't think that it would disappear in 5 years' time. No way. I don't think so.
And do you think that JPM coin is going to be the biggest cryptocurrency in 5 years?
Oh Lord, no. Oh Lord.
No?
I don't even get what that coin is about, honestly.
Well, apparently, it's a dollar-backed stablecoin.
But
originally to help with the transfer of value within their bank or across their partners.
It's totally closed. It's totally controlled. I mean, why do you need a cryptocurrency at that point to do that? Like, just create your own.
Because updating databases is hard.
For a company of that size and that. I don't know. Is it really that hard? I don't think so.
I don't know. I couldn't tell you. I'm not a database engineer. All right, so you don't think that JPM coin will be the biggest cryptocurrency?
No,
right.
I don't think so.
Well, that's good. I agree with you on that. And as we wrap up this final game, Christine scored 2 goals.
Woohoo!
Christine, thank you so much for coming on this episode of Crypto Controller.
Thank you for having me, Jacob.
So much my pleasure. We will have you back because you're the best soccer player we've got. We are going to be back this Thursday at 5 p.m. Normally we do Fridays, but complications on my part, so we're going to be back on Thursday. For all of you great guests or attendees watching, hit that subscribe button up top. Bring your questions next time. And as always, thank you so much for tuning in. We'll see you on Thursday.
Goodbye.